The World Cup qualifying is right around the corner and Greg Berhalter is very close to releasing the official roster. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Filippo, and in this video, we are going to try to predict who will Greg call up for World Cup qualifying in September, which the roster should be out in roughly 2 weeks at the end of August. Now look, in this video, Pete from 11 Yanks is going to be here discussing with me the roster. And one thing we need to point out, Greg has said that he's going to bring between 26 to 28 players. For the purposes of this video, we're going to assume he's going to bring 28 and we're going to try to predict what Greg would do, not what we would do. So feel free to comment down below either what Greg would do or what you would do. Either one. And I'm just getting confused with my own words. Remember, normally it would be 23, but Greg will be bringing probably 28 throughout this camp, probably every camp World Cup qualifying. Now, before we start, let's run the OneFootball giveaway. Thank you, OneFootball, once again for sponsoring the channel. But look. This one's not about us. This is about you. Because OneFootball is doing a giveaway for our viewers. So thank you very much, OneFootball. But let me explain. For the month of August, we have an amazing event. The MLS All-Star Game versus the Liga MX. You know, just another opportunity for the United States to crush Mexico like we did all summer long. We can just keep it rolling for another win. So for this, OneFootball will be doing a giveaway of one MLS All-Star 2021 jersey for a fan based in the United States. So go on the link down below, do your download, follow the instructions, and enter the giveaway. I might enter it myself. So thank you once again, OneFootball, for the giveaway. Thank you for sponsoring the channel, and hopefully the United States can continue to beat Mexico on the MLS versus Liga MX All-Star Game. Okay, the giveaway's done. You probably entered it. You hopefully have hit the like button by now and hit the notification bell. Let's bring in Pete and let's talk about the US Men's National Team World Cup qualifying roster. All right, Pete, we're happy to have you back for starters. Good to see that you're healthy once again. And now what we're going to do in this video, as I previously mentioned, we're going to go through what we think Greg will do for the September camp that's about to come, World Cup qualifying. It's actually the biggest moment since we started the channel for the U.S. Men's National Team, in my opinion. We had Nations League, we had Gold Cup, we had some friendlies here and there. But this is what it all comes down to. It's making it to the World Cup. And then when we go to Qatar 2022, which we firmly believe we will this time, that will be the biggest moment for us for sure. So little nervous, right now, especially when the games come, because these are all going to be finals.
Yeah.
And Greg has come out and said that he'll bring 26 or 28 players. So in this video, Pete, let's do 28. Let's assume he's going to bring the maximum he said, right? So let's just go right to it. And the first one's going to be very quick. It's the goalkeepers. Just tell me your goalkeepers, and I'm probably going to agree with it.
Turner, Stefan, Horvath.
Exactly. So unless one of them gets injured on a 2-week span, because the roster will probably be out in the last week of August, there's no way Turner, Stefan, or Horvath don't go. Now, just to make it a little more interesting, out of those three, who do you think Greg will start?
I think he'll stick with Stefan. I just think, Greg trusts his guys, and, Stefan has been his guy ever since the Columbus Crew. And, now he's playing at Manchester City. And although he's not starting, he does get 10 games a season, roughly, between 8 to 12 games. So, although, Stefan was shaky, in Nations League, right? He's been shaky for the last year, both playing for Manchester City and for the U.S., whether that's with his distribution or with some of his decision-making. So I hope he's over that. Because we can't afford shakiness in World Cup qualifying. It can cost us points. And, but yeah, I do think that Greg will start Stefan again.
I think so as well, and I wouldn't be surprised if in those 3 matches, maybe he throws in Matt Turner in one of them. For whatever reason. I could see that happening.
I would not be surprised either after his Gold Cup performances.
But now let's go to the next one, because this one is obviously quick, and I think everyone agrees. And guys, look, if you're in the comment section right now, feel free to comment your 28 players, not that you would bring, 28 players that you think Greg would bring to World Cup qualifying, which is very soon. The center backs, that's a more interesting one right now. Want me to start this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think he's going to bring 5 center backs, since he can bring 28. So I think he's going to bring John Brooks, Miles Robinson, Mark McKenzie, Walker Zimmerman, that is recovered from injury, apparently will be back here. He's even, I think, going to play in the All-Star game. And Tim Ream. I think he's going to leave Chris Richards out. It's not me. I think Greg won't bring Chris Richards.
Really? Why do you think that?
Well, these guys are playing. They were
Yeah.
with him during the summer at one point, and I don't think he rates Richards low. I just think that he didn't give Richards a look throughout the summer because of injuries and obviously because Gold Cup he's with the team.
Yeah.
And Richards hasn't played for Bayern at all, 0 minutes so far. So I think form matters, and Greg sees it that way. Hopefully, oh, not hopefully, because I don't want Chris Richards not to be there, but hopefully he uses that same logic to other players of form matters. And I think if he goes with that logic, Tim Ream has been playing for Fulham, for example.
Yeah.
I think Greg won't bring Chris Richards, unfortunately.
Okay. So my center backs, I think he brings 6 of them because, we have 28. So that means you can bring more guys than usual at each position. I think he brings Brooks. I think he brings Mark McKenzie. I do think he brings Miles Robinson. I think Tim Ream does go, even though personally I would not bring him, but I think Greg will bring him. He trusts him. He's one of his guys. I'm going to push back on Chris Richards. I think that Greg knows that Richards is going to not only be involved with World Cup qualifying going forward, but also is going to be in Qatar. And Richards only has 3 caps. When he was healthy, he didn't get any starts together with John Brooks. And I think Greg knows he needs to integrate Richards into this team because he's the highest ceiling center back in this whole pool. So I do think Greg will bring him. It is Bayern Munich. He's quote unquote not playing for yet, right? So it's not like any other situation with any of our other center backs. Bayern Munich is Bayern Munich, and he's probably their third choice center back right now after Sula and Upamecano. Mm-hmm. So I think he brings him. And then the 6th center back I think he brings is James Sands. I think that Sands did enough in the Gold Cup to earn another look, and also his versatility to be able to play as a 6 is something that Greg is going to want to look at going forward. So I think he brings these 6. I don't think he brings Walker Zimmerman, just because, Walker Zimmerman will be back, but just barely. Like 1 or 2 games back doesn't really put you at full fitness.
So let's just recap yours real quick. Brooks, Robinson, McKenzie, Richards, Ream, and
Sands.
Those are your saying. Sands can be also a midfielder, depending on how Greg goes. Recapping mine: Brooks, Robinson, Mark McKenzie, Zimmerman, and Tim Ream. That's who I think he brings. I hope he brings Richards, and your logic makes sense, but Greg has done a few things that don't make sense at times. So I think it can go either way. We'll see about that. Hopefully he does bring Chris Richards. Would it change your opinion if maybe Chris Richards gets a transfer, let's say a week from now, which is going to be pretty much 2 weeks when he released the roster, and he's moving to a different club and trying to go there to get practices? Do you think that could change? Greg's like, hey, I'll bring you in October. Go adjust to your club right now because you're arriving. You're ready this preseason there.
Maybe. I could see that. I still think that World Cup qualifying is priority, right?
I agree.
Like, this isn't friendlies anymore. This isn't even, summer tournaments, which are also very important, but this is World Cup qualifying. And you bring your best players, in my opinion, regardless of their club situation, okay? And I think Richards needs to be in that squad. And I hope, and maybe I'm forcing myself to believe this, that Greg will take World Cup qualifying with enough seriousness that you bring your best players if they're available, as in if they're fit, So I hope so.
Yeah, I would take Richards, no doubt. I'm just trying to enter Greg's head.
No, 100%. And he's made a lot of decisions like that. Almost always when there's a dispute with the club, Greg defers to the club. You're right. Mm-hmm. So we will see. We will see what happens. It'll be a fun time on Twitter if Richards is not in that roster. I'll tell you that much.
Now, fullbacks. I think he's going to bring 5 fullbacks total. So 5 center backs and 5 fullbacks. That's what I think he'll do. So for the fullbacks, I have, or do you want to go first for the fullback?
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
How many are you bringing?
I'm bringing also 5.
5? Okay. Yeah. So I think he's going to bring Serginho Dest, DeAndre Yedlin, Reggie Cannon, Anthony Robinson, and Sam Vines.
Yep. I have the exact same 5.
So let's just go through them real quickly just to justify why we think Greg's going to do that.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of the video, guys, because Pete did do a video also giving his prediction, which you guys can go check at his channel, and he talks a little bit about why he thinks Greg will bring these players. The focus of this one is just to talk about Berhalter. So Dest, for obvious reasons, he is one of our best players overall, just in general.
Yeah.
Yedlin, probably for experience and CONCACAF purposes, right? Would you add anything to Yedlin?
Yeah, and I think, Yedlin showed up in the Nations League. We still have question, his club situation is still iffy, but I don't know that I think Greg will almost see it as an opportunity to give him playing time.
Yeah.
He has experience. He's been to a World Cup. He's been to, a World Cup qualifying campaign. He understands CONCACAF. So I can see him being brought.
Cannon is a guy that Greg just trusts a lot, right? He was with us in Nations League and in Gold Cup.
Yeah.
Robinson is probably our best left back, and Sam Vines seems to be a guy that Greg rates pretty highly. So
yeah,
could be that as well. I don't think he's going to bring Bello over Vines. We saw that. I know it was weird that he started George Bello over Vines in Gold Cup final. His decision, but he's always rated Vines higher, so I think Vines will make it.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'll let you go first on midfield. My midfield, personally, I have 6 players.
Okay. Yeah, my midfield, I also think Greg will bring 6. Yeah, 6 for Greg.
Want to start?
Yeah, so I think he brings Tyler Adams, Kellen Acosta, Weston McKennie, Julian Green, Sebastian Lletget, and Jackson Ewell.
You don't think Ewell is finished?
I hope so. I hope he is, and I hope that, the last 3 tournaments of Ewell just being awful has finally convinced Greg that he's not somebody we should be on the national team. But Greg is stubborn, right? Greg loves his guys, and, he'll give more than chance after chance after chance to them. I don't think he'll start Ewell, to be clear. But I think with 28 players available, I think Greg goes, I still want to bring Ewell in. Maybe I'll boost his confidence, tell him we still believe in him. I don't think that deep down Greg has given up on this idea of a libero 6. I think that deep down Greg still thinks he can play with a playmaking 6. And I think in Greg's ideal world, like when he sleeps at night, when he dreams, that's how he wants his teams to play. Greg's problem is that our best 6 is not like that. Our best 6 is Tyler Adams, and arguably one of our best players, defending that back line and being an all-action ball-winning 6. But I think that Greg still he tried it with Bradley, he tried it with Trapp, he tried it with, Jackson. And I
Cardoso, when he brought him in.
Huh?
When he brought in Cardoso in camp, he tried that too.
Right. So I still think that Greg dreams of that, and I still think, even if he doesn't play Jackson, I hope I'm wrong. But I still think that Jackson gets into the roster.
So let's recap yours real quick, just before we move to mine. Go ahead, the 6.
So McKennie, Adams, Acosta, Green, Lletget, and Jackson Ewell. Now, by the way, Musa, I think he would bring Musa, but Musa's still injured. So I think even if he recovers in time, it's going to be very tight. I don't think Greg brings him.
Yeah, Yunus Musa, just this week I saw reports that he just got off crutches. So
he
probably won't have played a game, and I don't think Greg's going to risk bringing him in for that. So for me, I have Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Kellen Acosta, Sebastian Lletget. So these 4 are quite obvious, right? These 4 are Greg will bring.
They're locks.
The other 2 that I have, one is the same as you. I think Julian Green will be back. Offers experience, has been playing Bundesliga now, was one of the best midfielders in Bundesliga too. Has been playing as an 8, sometimes as an attacking midfielder for Firth. And he can play in the wing too if needed, though that's not his game now. The other one that I have is someone that you had earlier in the video. I think Greg would bring Sands as a midfielder. He could play also in the defense. But we saw throughout Gold Cup, when we played 3 in the back, Sands would position himself as a 6 on offense, the offensive shape, right? As a regista, distributing the game. So I think he could possibly bring Sands in to be a backup 6, because Acosta can play the 6 well, but Acosta can also play the 8. And Acosta is more of a, to be fair.
Yeah.
So I think he could bring James Sands right there. That's something I think he could do, and it could fulfill his dream that you talked about of having a player that can distribute the game a little bit better. Even though Tyler Adams is not bad at that by any means.
No, he's not.
Yeah. But I think he's going to go with that. I think he could bring James Sands and give him a look. He might not play, but I think he would bring Sands.
Yeah, I can see it.
Wingers. We've reached the wingers.
Okay.
I have 5 wingers. How many are you bringing?
I have 1, 2, 3, 4. It depends. I'm gonna say 5 because we're going by what Greg wants. 5 wingers. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll go first on the wingers, and you go first on the forwards after. So for the wingers, let's start the obvious ones: Pulisic and Reina.
Yep.
Reina, and look, everyone. until Greg says or plays Reina central, we're going to keep calling him a winger for the US.
Yeah.
Brendan Harrison, I think, is a lock. He'll be there. I think Timothy Weah will be there as well.
Yeah.
I don't think Greg's going to bring Conrad just yet. I don't think so. I think he's going to bring Paul Arriola.
Oh, really? Okay.
Captain. Wow. Gold Cup captain right there. And he stayed in the game. He kept Arriola we had an injured Arriola, and he would still play the guy as a captain with Leggett. I think he brings Arriola instead of Conrad, at least for September. That can change if Conrad keeps playing like this in France. But right now, I think he's bringing Arriola.
I think that's probably realistic. Mine is slightly different. So Weah, Pulisic, Aronson, and Reina are all the same, those four. And then I think he brings Matthew Hoppe. You know, I think that Greg doesn't see Hoppe as a forward. I think he sees him as a winger. You know, although, you know what? I'm going to revise that because Hoppe still hasn't got a transfer. And again, knowing Greg, if Hoppe does get a transfer in the next week or two, he might just be like, listen, focus with your club, stay with your club. I hope not, but I'm going to revise it to yours. I think Paul Arriola is very likely to get called in that case, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely not what I would do. It's most certainly not what you would do, but I think it's what Greg will do. And Matthew Hoppe, just to update everyone, I don't know how true this is. There were sources that told me he's dealing with a stomach bug for the last week, and he's out for a while, so he hasn't been practicing apparently. So there's all that. And he's also dealing with the transfer. So it might not be a camp where we see Hoppe yet. But I think we'll see Hoppe throughout qualifier for sure, especially after Gold Cup. Pulisic, Reina, Brendan Harrison, Weah, and Paul Arriola are the 5 wingers that we think Greg will bring in September.
Yeah.
The forwards, Pete. I'm bringing 4 forwards, and you're bringing 4 as well, right?
3.
3. Go ahead.
3. Because I had an extra center back. I had 6 and you had 5. So if we're hitting 28, I think he brings Josh Sargent, Jordan Pifok, Jordan Sibachu, and Giassi Zardes.
Okay. I have those 3, but I need to put an extra one, right? And I don't think he'll bring Hoppe for the exact reasons I just said. It's not that he doesn't rate or believe in Hoppe. I think he will bring Hoppe later in the future. Right now, Hoppe has a lot to deal with, and he has to figure that out.
Yeah.
So I have Sargent, Pifok, and Giassi Zardes. Now, my 4th is where I'm confused. And here's the reason I'm confused. I don't think he's going to bring DK. DK is not even playing for Orlando the past 2 weeks. Ever since Gold Cup, he hasn't really come back. I think he's finally having a break. And DK had a rough Gold Cup. So maybe he won't bring Daryl DK. That leaves us with a few other options he could do, which I wrote here. He could bring Pepe, try to bring Pepe to fight L3. And, you know, they're just trying to snag our dual nationals. They're just trying to take them. And that could be something. He brings Pepe and maybe even tells Pepe, look, I won't play you. I won't cap tie you, but I want you to be here with us. I already have more than enough players than I need. I want you to be here, get to know us. You're welcome here. He could do that.
Yeah.
Other 2 possibilities that I see is him maybe bringing in Caden Clark or Cade Cowell, a young guy just to be there. They might not even play.
Yeah.
But he has been wanting to bring Caden Clark for a while. He wanted to bring him for Gold Cup, and the appendicitis hurt that. So I'm going to go with Sargent, Pifok, and Zardes. And I think the 4th option, I'm going to leave it open. It can be any of these young guys. It can be Cade Cowell, Caden Clark, or Pepe. And they might not play any of those. But
I doubt it.
Bring them in.
What about Gioacchini? You think there's a chance he brings Gioacchini?
I don't know. He hasn't been playing for Kane, right? I don't know if he'll bring Gioacchini. He sees him as a winger, right?
Yeah, that's true. Does he see him as a winger, though, or do you think he only sees him as a winger for the Gold Cup purposes? Because the first time he played Gioacchini as a center forward in that 6-2 win over Panama, and he scored 2 goals.
I thought Gioacchini played as a winger also in November of 2020, right?
No, he didn't. He played as a center forward because remember Leggett started the first game against Wales and it was 0-0, and then as a false 9. And then Gioacchini came on in this second game. He started the second game 6-2 over Panama and scored twice. So I don't know. I mean, I think Khan uses him as both a forward and as a winger, but it's hard to say exactly where Greg sees him because we know for Gold Cup purposes he used him as a winger because he didn't have options. So we don't really know.
I think if he brings in Nico Gioacchini, it will be probably to be a legitimate option. It's like he's an option to play. Yeah. Now, the other guys I mentioned, I don't think they would play. I think he would bring them for being camp purposes. So now I don't know. That is a possibility. I'm gonna leave it open. My last spot right there on one of those guys. It could be Gioacchini to be a useful player. Even though I think Clark would be useful, I don't think he would play Caden right now. But Caden, Pepe, or Cowell as well, because Cade Cowell, I don't think there's much of a possibility of losing him to Mexico.
No.
I don't think he wants to choose Mexico over the U.S. If the only way Cade Cowell would play for Mexico is if the U.S. never calls him up, and then Mexico one day calls him, then maybe he would go. If the U.S. calls him along with Mexico, Cade would never choose Mexico over the U.S.
Yeah.
But he maybe Greg wants to bring him in just to reassure that's like, look, we're looking at you, we're looking at your development. So and Caden Clark as well, that will be heading Leipzig. But that does it for the roster, guys. We're waiting for you guys to comment down below, to hit the like button. Like we said, Pete has made his roster. I'm not making mine because I won't have time. But Pete has it in his channel, 11 Yanks. You're all familiar with it, with his channel, obviously. Pete, thank you very much. Anything you want to add to this roster?
No, the only thing is just a quick note on Cowell. Both you and I have heard from, various sources that his heart is with the United States. He wants to play for the US. Mexico is not really on his radar right now. And kudos on him. He's one of those guys who wants to play for the best team, which is understandable, right? He wants to play for, the team that's going to be the champions of CONCACAF and the top dog in CONCACAF for the next 10 years. Even if it means more competition, he's willing to fight through that competition to represent his country. And that's the kind of dual national we want.
Yeah, some players prefer the easy route, but we'll leave it on that.
Yes,
Thank you for watching, everyone. Thank you for watching. We'll leave it on that.
All right.
Thank you for watching, everyone. Have a great day, guys.